Hello everyone, welcome to Olsen Cafe. Now in my last video, I have given you a visual representation of what completing the square really means. Now today, I would like to show you how to complete the square when coefficient of x squared is not equals to 1. So before we proceed with the lesson, if you do not have a good understanding of the basic of completing the square, be sure to watch my earlier video first. Alright, you can find the link to that video in the description below. So today I will work through two examples as you can see from here. Alright, one is the quadratic expression with a negative coefficient of x squared, and the other one is when coefficient of x squared is equals to 2. Alright, so let's see how we can do these two questions. Okay, so over here in the first example, we are going to complete the square for this expression here. So in this case, you will notice that the coefficient of x squared, there is a negative sign. Yeah, but before we proceed, do remember that for us to complete the square, we have to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is always equals to 1. So since there is a negative sign over here, so what I do need to take note is I will need to factorize out the negative sign. So to do that, when I factorize out the negative, alright, I will have negative bracket x squared minus 12x. So over here, I will only focus on the first two terms. Alright, the last term I will let it stand alone. Yeah, no change. Yeah, so that it is easier because I only need to mix changes to the first two terms. Now the other thing that is worth taking note is that you notice of the sign, because earlier on this is a plus, so therefore when I take out the negative sign, I will have to change this sign to negative as well. So this is something you need to take note. Now once I arrive this step, right, with this first two term, I think this looks familiar now. Alright, so we are ready to complete the square. Yeah, so for us to complete the square, we need to take a look at the coefficient of x. So in this case, coefficient of x is minus 12. So for us to complete the square, we should know by now, all right, that we need to factor in this term half of b squared. So again, at this point, if you are still not sure of how to complete the square and the basic one, so do remember to check out my earlier video. So over here, if I'm going to apply what we learned earlier on, so half of b, which is equals to negative 6. So therefore, to complete the square, so this will give us x minus 6 square, and then minus of the term half of b squared. So this itself, I have already completed the square. So to do that, and then I have negative 7 here, don't forget. So this one, I bring it down a negative 7. So what I need to do next is to simplify. So to simplify, alright, so what I need to do is I multiply back the sign. So by multiplying back the sign, I will have negative x minus 6 square, and then minus minus, this will give me plus, and then I will simply need to evaluate 36 minus 7, and with this, I derive at the final answer, which is here. So hopefully you find this useful. Alright, so the key things to take note here is I will need to factorize out the negative sign. Okay, so over here in this second example, we take note that the coefficient of x squared is 2. So just like I mentioned earlier on, before we can do completing the square, we have to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is equals to 1. So since there is a 2 here, so what I need to do is I will need to factorize out the 2. So to do that, right, I take a look at the first two terms. Alright, so I will get x squared plus 5 over 2x. Again, the last term I let it stand alone, so I only need to focus on the first two terms. So in my earlier video, I shown you how I can actually complete the square over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this coefficient of x. So now it is 5 over 2. So I want to find a term that is half of this b, and then I square it. So to do that, all right, to complete the square, so this is what I have. So do take note, because the sign here is a plus, so therefore in completing the square, the sign inside the bracket, it is also a plus. Now, so this is how I get this expression. Now, so once I derive this step, right, what comes next, it will be simply just to simplify. So to do that, I multiply back the 2 into the bracket. So this is what I will have. Right, I multiply 2 inside here, so I square this term, I get 25 over 16. So I multiply, and then I further simplify, I will be able to get this final answer. Yeah, so 25 over 16 times 2, this will give me 25 over 8. Yeah, so minus 25 over 8 plus 3, and this will give me negative 1 over 8. So this is how I derive, all right, the final expression, right, by completing the square. Okay, so in summary, after I've gone through these two examples, just a quick note. Yeah, so whenever you have a coefficient of x squared that is not equals to 1, in the first example is negative sign, what you need to do is factorize out the negative sign, and then you work out completing the square accordingly. So in the second example, all right, the coefficient of x squared is a 2, so whatever number that it is, right, you just factorize out the value. Yeah, so just to take note that when you do that, right, you may deal with fractions in the process. Right? So just to take note of all this. Otherwise, completing the square method is still basically the same. So with this, I hope you find this video useful. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.